No one's ever described us as clever at all. This is We Have Concerns. Hi, Jeff Canada.
Hi, Anthony Carboni.
Hello, concerned citizens.
Anthony.
Jeff.
Dinosaurs.
Yes. We're pro-dinosaur on this channel.
We are. Bring them back.
On this podcast,
that's what we say.
We believe, yes, dinosaurs.
Yes, we say yes. Make some sort of themed park, if you will.
Listen, I would love to see a dinosaur up close. I would love to see the bigger, the better. The smarter the dinosaur, the better.
What could go wrong?
I want and listen, make sure that the fences allow me to really see those dinosaurs.
Get me in there.
Get me up close and pernisal.
And pernisal.
Get me a Pernosaurus. And if there isn't one, make it up.
Make it up.
Get Bryce Dallas Howard.
Combine a pern and a saurus and make it.
That's right. And but also let's throw in something horribly deadly.
Yeah.
For what? Just for a little taste.
Just for a little taste. I think as a science podcast, we have spent precious little time on dinosaurs in the history of our podcast.
I'll tell you what, Jeff. The reason we've done that, the reason we have not spent a lot of time on dinosaurs is people are pretty yes dinosaurs. You know what I mean?
Sure. Dinosaurs are delightful.
Yeah, we're pro-dinosaur. Everybody else is pro-dinosaur. Do you like dinosaurs? Yes, everybody says. And that's kind of like, what's your favorite dinosaur? That's sort of the extent of dinosaur.
So if you think science, if you think Natural History Museum, you know, what's the first thing you think of? You think science, you think dinosaurs.
Yeah. And then
you think either space or dinosaurs, right?
Yeah. If you throw in Natural History Museum, I also tend to think vaguely racist, xenophobic, and incorrect depictions of ancient civilizations with mannequins.
Sure. But who doesn't love a diorama?
Oh, I love a fucking diorama, dude.
Right? Come on.
Listen, a little bit of a digression here, but a few weeks back was at the Griffith Observatory. Lovely place.
Great place.
If you're in LA, go to the Griffith Observatory. Check out all the cool stuff they have. But they have a whole room about the discovery of telescopes and the discovery of looking into space. And it's all done with little dioramas they were built in like the 80s, and they use Pepper's ghosts.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
So it's like they don't use screens. I mean, there are screens, but the way they do it is it's like film or video projected onto glass. So it looks like little people are floating in the little tiny dioramas talking to each other.
That's rad.
Like old school Disney Haunted Mansion shit.
That's rad.
And I'm just like, never replace this.
So much of the years that I spent living in Los Angeles, the Griffith Observatory was closed. And I'm so glad it's reopened. I mean, many years it was closed. It was under construction for years. Anyway.
Really?
Yeah.
They had to build all these Pepper's ghosts.
Well, yeah, I guess,
I love a Pepper's ghost.
Sure.
Hey, here's another thing. You're saying we don't talk enough about dinosaurs. We don't talk enough about Pepper's ghosts.
Yes.
We need to talk a little bit more about beam splitting and prisms and shit. Like, come on.
Not wrong. However, I didn't prepare any of that stuff today.
Oh, okay.
So let's talk about dinosaurs.
All right. We'll do Pepper's ghost next week.
Yeah, let's seriously. Good reason to talk about dinosaurs. Our friend Z Synergy Mansfield sent us a story on the Discord that points out something I was not aware of.
Were you not aware of how to get on the Discord?
Well, I knew how to do that. All you got to do is go to patreon.com/wehaveconcerns, pay only a single dollar a month, and you get on that Discord. It's easy.
Okay, so what's the thing that you didn't know?
The thing I didn't know was that the year of our Lord 2024, marks the 200th anniversary
of dinosaurs.
Not exaggerating. I was shocked.
They died 200 years ago.
That's right, according to our biblical text.
Boy, that just keeps getting shorter and shorter, huh?
It really does.
Well, as the youth stops going to church, the church goes, well, what can we add to religion to really spice it up? Jesus riding dinosaur.
Yeah. Oh, dude. And the guitar riff that happens behind him, amazing.
And I'll tell you what, TikTok, the TikTok flat earther and conspiracy theorists are really helping this out. They're really going, how do we know there weren't dinosaurs 200 years ago? We didn't have cameras. Yes, we did.
Yeah.
Yes, we did.
I was shocked to learn this, that 1824 was the first time any human went, maybe there was an extinct species of giant reptiles.
Okay, but is that the first time they did it? Are you saying that's the first time they did it seriously?
It's like the first time they did it.
Like in a scientific way.
I went down the rabbit hole on this hard because I was shocked.
Yeah.
If you had asked me what year did we learn about dinosaurs, have such an, I'm going to say it, Anthony, oversized footprint in our collective psyche.
Fucked.
They have a massive presence in our cultural awareness, right? Dinosaurs, like I said, like we started this conversation, are kind of synonymous with science, right? And there's so much a part. Every little kid thinks about dinosaurs. Dinosaurs are part of just the global imagination of the species, our species now, right? Humans, we just think about dinosaurs. It seems that they are woven into the fabric of our psyche.
Yeah.
And yet, it's been only 200 years since anyone even thought they were a thing. That to me, if you had asked me when dinosaurs were first discovered, I would have said way longer ago than 1824.
Okay, but here's where I push back again on this a little bit. I mean, this is why I'm saying this is the first time we thought about it seriously, scientifically, conceptualize them, because obviously throughout myths and legends in all of human history, we've got sea serpents, we've got dragons, we've got. So when you say this is the first time we ever thought of dinosaurs, you're saying somebody sat down and said, hey, Gary, I was thinking about it. And I was thinking about that the horrible giant lizards at the center of the earth. I think them shits was real.
Well,
not fake, Gary. Gary, no. And I'm not just drunk. Gary, I think maybe them big thunder lizards, real shit.
Put down the drink, Marv.
No, I'm not putting down the drink. You pick up the pen and write this down. Giant lizard, real. Come from long time ago. Gone now, but why?
Here's the problem with this, Marv. Here's the problem with this, Marv. Everything I believe and know was written in this little book right here. No mention of that.
Oh.
No mention.
Well, I've been talking to the Pope, and I think we're going to add that. I think we're going to add that in, because I was also thinking, Jesus could have rode one.
This is why you're the idea man, Marv.
So we're talking about scientifically, somebody sat down and said...
Scientifically, someone presented a legitimate position. And to be fair, the stuff you're talking about certainly existed in legends and lore and mythology, dragons and sea serpents and all kinds of craziness. But no one ever suggested that there was an extinct, like legitimately in scientific circles suggested there was an extinct group of giant lizards. Mm-hmm. No one said that. In fact, the first...
They just said there was like a general group of giant lizards, but not like a distinct one. Not like a very specific, like, and then they drew on the whiteboard like a cool, like skateboarding one with a mohawk. And they were like, this is probably very distinctly what they were like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Jesus was there.
Yeah. And Jesus was high-fiving them, and they both had pizza.
Yeah.
Also, they invented pizza at the same time as they invented dinosaurs.
I suspect pizza is older than dinosaurs.
Oh, pizza's way older than dinosaurs.
Yeah.
Pizza's hundreds.
I looked up all the things that were invented before dinosaurs. Did you know that we had soda fountains before anyone suggested dinosaurs was a thing?
Well, yeah, that's how you got your medicine. That's how you got your That's how you got your heroin and your cocaine.
Mercury.
Yeah, and your mercury in bubbled water form. Your tonics.
Yeah.
You know? No, pizza
you gotta have those. Yeah, you gotta have those
was like
to get the vapors out.
Yeah, you don't want vapors.
No.
Ugh.
No, but
pizza was 1,000. Pizza was invented in like the year 1000. I want to say pizza's been around for a good long time.
You know, and still tastes good. You know,
I mean, it's the first. I remember this because I managed an Italian restaurant for a long time, and I looked this up. Pizza, we don't know when it was invented, but we do have the first written proof of pizza, and it's from like 1000 CE.
But isn't it like in Asia? Wasn't it like the Chinese had pizza before the Italians?
The idea of like flatbread food, is pretty universal. You know what I mean? Like you've got bread, you've got crops. Put the crops on the bread. Like that's the easiest way to do it. You know,
that's how I describe my order to Domino's.
Yeah, just put the crops.
Domino's, put the crops on the bread.
Okay, do you want extra crops?
Yes, as many crops as possible.
Do you want?
Put them on the bread.
All right. Do you want cheesy crust?
Cheesy crops?
Do you want cheesy crust crops?
Can you give me some bread crops?
But here's the thing: the first written, I remember this. The first written mention of pizza is like some like feudal lord who
his name was Papa John.
Yeah, it was Papa John, and Papa John pledged to like the church 10 pizzas a year.
Sure.
As like his tithe to the church is like. But what I love
about if you get 10 pizzas a year.
Yeah, here's 10 pizzas for God. Make sure that my fiefdom is in good shape. And you got to think, if that was 10% of his income to the church, that means dude was only making 100 pizzas a year as a feudal lord, which means he was not good at it.
This is before, industrialized pizzaing.
Oh, sure. And, there was pizza inflation where you put, where it's like you get Chicago pizza where it's like real deep. But, but this was like, one pizza back then is worth, was worth maybe like 1,000 of today's pizzas.
My kingdom for a pizza, they'd say.
Anyway, did these dinosaurs eat pizza?
I think I understand why we don't talk about dinosaurs very much on the show. It's because we always end up talking about pizza.
Well, I really should have eaten before we started recording. If I'm going to be honest.
Okay, so let me, like I said, I went deep into this rabbit
hole. So what
else
wasn't around before dinosaurs?
Oh, so much stuff. I mean, honestly, the things that are more recently, or that dinosaurs is more recent than, it's wild.
We had bicycles before dinosaurs.
Oh yeah, we had a battery. We had batteries before dinosaurs.
Oh hell
yeah. We had ambulances before dinosaurs. We had.
Dude, I bet an ambulance in 1842. Terrifying experience.
We had photographs before dinosaurs, steam locomotives, toy balloons, the electromagnet, all before we figured out that freaking dinosaurs existed. Anyway.
Wow.
So in 1677, the first recorded dinosaur bone was discovered. And the guy who discovered it was like, wow, they were giant humans.
Yeah.
He found a giant femur bone and was like, oh, wow, giant humans existed. And then
I lost you. After giant humans existed.
And then no one looked into it until 1815.
So what type of bone was it, and what type of bone did he think it was? I want to know if he thought he found like a
huge femur.
I was going to say femur.
That's what you find. That's what the cartoons tell us you find, right?
Because also I was thinking, what sort of bone are you going to look at that's just so quintessentially a human bone, like the cartoon version of a human bone, like when you draw one. It's very femur.
Yeah. So
he thought giant humans were walking around. That makes sense.
But he didn't find anything else, and so no one really looked into it. And it was just kind of this weird.
How did no one look into this? Dude found a giant fucking femur. He's showing everybody a giant fucking femur, and everybody just went, "This is the problem with our dumb ancestors." Is he went, "Look, proof of giants," and they're like, "Yeah, of course, giants."
Yeah,
sure.
It's just 1677. This dude named Robert Plott. He was like, I think it was a giant human.
We named the measurement of land off of him because he was like, I found this on my land. This bone belongs to me.
That's right.
It's my plot of land.
Unfortunately, he lost the plot, you know?
Hey.
Hey-o. So then fast forward to 1815. And this dude in Oxfordshire, this dude named William Buckland is a professor at Oxford. This really kind of wacky professor. He eventually became the president of the geology department, but he was this wacky dude who evidently was
really a nutty professor.
He was a nutty professor. He also invented flubber, all kinds of fun things. No, he evidently would have these really wild lectures where he would run up to people with a baboon skull or a jackal skull and shout in their face, "What rules the world? What rules the world?"
And everybody went, "Girls."
He was really ahead of his time.
Yeah.
And he would be like, "No, they just want to have fun."
Gotcha.
Now, the answer to the question of what rules the world is hunger. Hunger rules the world. It defined the movement of
everything we do to find food. We do to survive.
Right. So he's just like this wacky dude. He would go on these archaeological digs.
Hey, William Buckland, don't you need water before you need food?
I guess, but I guess he doesn't think it rules the world necessarily.
But you die without water first.
He hadn't read Dune yet.
Oh. Yeah. How much? What's crazy is we had Dune in 1823 before dinosaurs. We got Soda Pop and then Frank Herbert's Dune. Right. And then the Quaisach Haderach. The Harkonnen were before dinosaurs.
That's right.
So William Buckland is running around. He's scaring kids.
He would wear his robes, his Oxford robes out to these digs. He was a very quirky dude.
All right.
So in Oxfordshire, there were these guys that were digging around and they were finding these weird fossils, and they would bring them to him. And he's like, "Oh, hey, bring me more of these." And he starts paying these guys to bring him anything they find that looks like it could be a piece of a bone or a tooth or something.
All right.
And little by little, he starts realizing they might be part of this giant jigsaw puzzle of a creature that we've never seen before.
Here's what I love. And this is this is the way that the research and the science has to progress. Like, there's no other way than this, but I do love it. The assumption that all of these gigantic bones belong to the same lizard. Like the lizard's name is Gary or Roger. It's not that it belongs to a species. It belongs to the lizard, probably the one that's on the skateboard eating the pizza. Right. And so he's like, bring me everything in this field because all of these bones must be from Roger, the terrible thunder lizard.
Well, can you imagine? I think it's really hard. The thing that reading about this made me do is try to imagine what a absolute gobsmack it would be to think all of a sudden, what if there were giant ass lizards that were on the earth before us? Like thousands of years.
Yeah.
Human beings think we were it. Like everything we see is it. Yeah, there's probably some stuff that existed before, but all that's dead. We're it. In fact, it kind of explains religion to me in a really palpable way. It's like, yeah, we are the culmination of creation. It all led to us.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting to think that genuinely, right, you're talking about 1843.
1824.
Or 1824. Okay, so 1824, you're pre-Darwin.
Well, you're contemporary to Darwin.
Because Darwin
Yeah.
doesn't go on the HMS Beagle or come back from the Beagle until like 10 years after that. So and we don't get Origin of Species until like 1860. So we're talking about a world where we also think that everything is very static. Not just that everything led to us, but we've always been around.
Snapped our fingers and here we were.
Yeah.
Yes.
And every bird we see, every chipmunk, every animal has always been exactly this way.
Exactly.
We are living in
great point.
We are living in a very static environment. So the idea that, oh yeah, there were these creatures and now there are not.
Exactly. Yes. It's a radical concept that this dude, William Buckland, so 1815, these guys are giving him bones. 1822, he marries his assistant.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I guess that's cool.
Do we got news? Do we got news about that age gap?
We don't have news about that age gap, but I bet it's profound.
I have a feeling William Buckland might be canceled.
His assistant is Marianne Mantell. They get married. She's also a geologist, fascinated by this stuff, but also an illustrator.
Yes.
Key to the story. So 1822, they get married. 1824, he presents this idea that there was a creature that he dubs Megalosaurus.
Yes.
He invents this word Megalosaurus. His wife, Marianne, draws what it could have looked like. He's got this
200 years later, Jason Statham.
You're connecting the dots, Anthony. This is what we're doing. Direct descendant, British born, Jason Statham.
Wasn't he in the Meg? Did I get that wrong?
No, you got that right.
All right. I've never seen
That's a megalodon, but not a megalosaurus. But it's all right.
Same shit, dude.
The Megalosaurus, the first named dinosaur. The term dinosaur does not exist.
No.
It takes 20 more years for Sir Richard Owen in 1842 to come up with the term Dinosauria, which translates to terrible lizard.
I had that book when I was a kid, Dinosauria, and it had all those lavish illustrations, and you had to find there was like a hidden kid on every page.
Stickers in the back, I'm sure.
Yeah. I want to show off before we move too far into Dinosauria. I would like to show the Megalosaurus.
Yeah. That's what they think, they think it is. He says it's up to 40 feet long. It's, look at the jaw of this thing. They put it together. They're showing it around. He's presenting it at Oxford in this museum that he founded there.
Can I tell you something? They're focusing on the wrong thing because the pterodons in the back are not that bad. Like the pterodons are not terrible. Like they're off, but they're not so off, right?
Right.
But these guys in the front are just like some level 1 RPG monsters. Like they are not. They are not any species of dinosaur at all.
It's just crazy to me that.
So for our audio listeners, in the front, what we've got here is they've got the head basically of crocodiles or alligators.
Yeah, right.
But then they have like these weird, like really wrinkly, like loose necks. And then they have sort of a hump on their back that's not quite like a spine thing. Like it's not quite like the plates on their back that you would expect. It's just sort of a bump. And they do have, and this is really disturbing to me, somehow human elbows. They're walking on all fours, but they have very human looking elbows and forearms to me. in a way that I find quite disturbing. And then long tails, and they truly do look like every joke about early scientific drawings you've ever seen.
Yeah.
Or like if you're very like, honestly, the beginning of an RPG where like they're doing the opening movie and they're showing you monsters and like drawings of monsters from like the time and
this
the
does
kingdom.
look like directly out of the monster manual, but like early, like AD&D, not like 5th edition. It's like early AD&D monster manual.
Yeah. But in the background, you've got these sort of like pterosaurs that aren't too far off.
Right.
They aren't too far off. So shout out to Marianne for doing this, because she did all right considering her wacky husband was making this shit up. Just fitting the bones together however he saw.
This guy, by the way, I have not given enough coverage to William Buckland. I think you would be a huge fan of this dude.
He sounds great. I already want to hang with William Buckland.
I got the quote wrong, by the way. It's not, he didn't say it's hunger. So he said, what rules the world? The stomach is what he says.
Gotcha.
The stomach rules the world. So the other thing about this dude, speaking of the stomach, is that he lived in this house with his wife who's also into this stuff. And they had all kinds of crazy fossils on the walls and kind of weird skeletons in their home. He lived in this weird house. He would wear his robes out, as I already said. He also was super into eating, the stomach, eating through the zoological world. He wanted to eat strange things.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I found my people. Yes. How many times on this show have I said that I want to do this? How many times on this show have I said, we've got to eat one of everything? If we're truly in charge, we have to know, Jeff, including human. I've said this too. I don't know how Buckland felt about that. If they say anything about how Buckland felt about maybe eating a fingy or a toesy, but I'll tell you what, you got to eat your way through the animal kingdom. That's why we're here. Well, and I spent over a decade as a vegetarian. I very much believe in animal rights. I believe that anti-animal cruelty, but I also firmly believe, Jeff, that in order to truly understand who we are and what we are as living creatures, we got to eat one of everything.
That's what William Buckland believed. He was famous for eating. He ate a mole, a blue bottle fly.
Yeah, he did.
He ate a panther.
Like a whole panther? How long did it take
parts
him?
Of a panther. I don't know.
Did he win a T-shirt? He won a T-shirt from Oxford. If you could eat a panther, a whole one in one sitting.
Right. They put your picture on the wall.
That's right.
Because photography had been invented by that point. They put your picture on the wall if you eat the whole panther.
That's right. And then
your meal is free.
And you get a little card. And anytime you go to the Oxford soda fountain, you get unlimited mercury for the rest of your life.
Yeah. Panther eater, they called you. So he ate a crocodile and a mouse. But the craziest thing that William Buckland was famous for eating, this is in his Wikipedia, this is in his biography, this is supposedly true. William Buckland supposedly ate part of Louis XIV's heart.
Stole his power.
Isn't that the coolest thing ever?
Stole his fucking power right out from under him. The Sun
King
ate himself.
Part of the heart of Louis XIV, the Sun King himself.
The heart of the Sun King. He devoured it.
This is the dude that coined the term Megalosaurus. This is the dude that first said, hey, maybe there was an entire species of giant lizards that roamed the earth.
Maybe I could eat one, and then I would be the most powerful lizard on the earth.
Maybe I will be the greatest carnivore.
God damn, this dude's got ideas.
Yeah. I think the only reason he even had the balls to do this is because he ate Louis XIV's heart.
Oh, hundo P. Absolutely. This you eat the Sun King's heart, Who's going to stop you? Like once you eat a piece of the Sun King's heart, here's what I got to say. The corpse of Louis XIV could not have been just some corpse that was somewhere. It couldn't have been like, it wasn't like people weren't watching it. It wasn't like it had to be properly, buried there. Like you're not allowed to fuck with the corpse of royalty. Right. William Buckland somehow, and I want to know how, William Buckland gets in the room with the corpse, gets in the room with the fucking organs, and just says, let me get a piece of that heart. Just says, as long as I'm here, is anybody going to finish this? That's right. Are you going to finish this? Because if not, I could eat. And he eats a piece of the goddamn heart, Jeff. And they let him. And he walks away. That's right. He ate the king's heart and he walked away, Jeffrey. Yeah. How did he do it? Did he just get permission? Was walking around with Oxford robes like walking around with a ladder where you can just get in anywhere? Try it. Walk in somewhere with a ladder. They'll let you. They'll let you. If they got a ladder, they're not going to stop you. If you got a ladder, they're just like, dude's doing work. Combine it with robes and it's like a skeleton key. Dude. More like a skeleton buffet when this guy's around. Am I right? This fingy eating so-and-so. Listen to this. That's France, dude. Here's the story. That's the other thing, Jeff. That's fucking France. He's in Oxford. How did he get to that? How did he get to that fucking corpse, Jeff? Here's the story. So he allegedly ingested the 140-ish-year-old mummified heart that belonged to King Louis XIV of France. The heart had been stolen during the French Revolution. Yes. Until William Buckland's friend, Lord Harcourt, somehow acquired it. Somehow, quote unquote, somehow. It says when Harcourt withdrew the heart from a silver snuff box, because of course he did. God damn. William quickly popped it in his mouth. Dude, he knew, okay? He knew that Harcourt had the heart, okay? And he's like, Harcourt wants to show it off. Harcourt probably paid so much money for this heart. Harcourt was like, you wouldn't believe what Harcourt had to go through to get this heart. And Buckland's like, yo, let me come over and see this heart. I heard you have this heart. That's amazing. I can't believe you had it. That's so cool, man. Let me see it. And the guy, Harcourt's like, oh my God, it's my prized possession. I can't believe I have this heart. It's unbelievable. Yeah, I want to show it to you. He's so proud. Harcourt's thinking for his whole life, he's going to show off the heart of the Sun King. But Buckland knows. Buckland knows not to ask. Yeah. Buckland knows not to ask. You ask for forgiveness, not permission. That's right. Because if Buckland asks... when it comes to eating the heart of the Sun King. Dude, if I had an expensive artifact and you just wanted to break it, would you ask me? No, of course not. No, you'd be like, we've been friends for a really long time. I'm going to roll the dice on this one. He opens up the box, goes to show him the heart. The moment the box is open... Also, like, yo, what's the size of a mummified man's heart? Could I fit that all in my mouth? Buckland must have just really gone for it. Buckland really went for it, dude. It's not like you're popping a lozenge. It's not a Jolly Rancher, Jeffrey. Oh, no. It's the size of a human heart. And William Buckland goes, mine. What did Harcourt say? What do you follow? Because we have Buckland's quote after he allegedly ate the heart. He said, quote, I have eaten many strange things, but have never eaten the heart of a king. Fuck, me too, dude. That's also my quote. I have never eaten the heart of a king. Yet. Yeah. We gotta put that on shirts. We're gonna sell t-shirts that says, I have eaten many strange things. I have never eaten the heart of a king. Michael Scott. So this is the father of dinosaurs. Like, this is the coolest thing about, like, people in the 19th century, you didn't just do one rad thing. No. You know what I mean? You were a gadfly, a man about town, a scientific pioneer.
You know, if you're thinking about dinosaurs during the day, you're eating hearts of kings during the night. That's just the way it was.
Dude, the idea of the gentleman scientist adventurer genuinely still sticks with me because of these times. And listen, most of them were idiots. Like we've talked about it. Most of them were wrong and bad. And they would simply, and a lot of them went into academia because they were considered the fail sons.
Sure.
You know what I mean? Like their family had money. But it's like, dude, he can't run the business.
Right.
This isn't the kid that can run the business and keep the money coming in. What do? We send him to school. Let him be an academic. Let him be a conversationalist.
Right.
And science was so, like, everything was so malleable at that point because we were so dumb. We believed there was ether in the air.
Sure.
You know what I mean? You could just say shit. You could just say shit. The thing is, sometimes these dudes said shit and they were right and it stuck. So, like, instead of just being like, there's ether in the air, this guy said, big lizard. Real big lizard.
Well, he was wrong about some stuff, too.
Of course he was.
He found some bones of a human being in a cave in the Paviland Cave.
Yeah.
I hope that's pronounced correctly. It's in South Wales, the Paviland Cave.
Oh, then it's definitely not pronounced correctly.
Yeah, I agree. And he called it the Red Lady of Paviland, which he said this guy had a flair for the dramatic. He said it was the remains of a local prostitute, the Red Lady of Paviland.
Why a prostitute?
Hey, what are you gonna remember more? It's some old bones of a random dead person, or it's the Red Lady of Paviland, the prostitute who went into the cave.
No, I'm all for marketing. I love a strong brand. I'm just wondering if there was some sort of reasoning behind it, or if he was just like, this was a cave sex worker.
I think. Well, it was found in it was the only human found in a cave that had also mammoth bones in it, and he agreed that no humans had coexisted with these extinct animals, but he thought that the skeleton was there because it was a grave dug, in prehistoric times, and he thought it was she was punished by going there because she was a prostitute. I think he embellished quite a lot.
Yeah,
on this story.
I'm going to say that's wild. That's like when I was a kid. The first time I played Clue, I didn't understand the rules of Clue. And so I simply made up the best story in my head because I thought that's what you did.
Yeah.
And everybody was like, where did you come up with that? Like, you could see, it's not the wrench because the wrench is right here. And it's like, oh, but I thought it was like, wrench shouldn't be there.
He was working on a car.
Yeah,
and the car started rolling.
I came up with a whole thing, and people were like, "What do you think this game is?" I was like, "I don't know, man. I'm just here to have fun."
It's kind of what William Buckland was doing. Those bones of the Red Lady of Paviland were, or Paviland, I don't know.
Don't do it.
Whatever. They were later carbon dated and found to be one of the oldest humans ever discovered in the UK. 33,000 years old and a male. It was a man. So it wasn't even a lady.
Okay. So he was a little off.
Little off. He
was a little off. But, he was right about the lizard thing.
Yeah.
They were really, it was more like a bird thing. But,
Charles Darwin did not like him.
Charles Darwin was a dork.
Yeah.
Charles Darwin was like a loser dork, though.
They were contemporaries.
Yeah, and one of them was cool. Listen, did one of them do the foundational work? Yes, one of them really did the thing. The other one was just cool guy who came up with some shit.
Yeah.
And like, look, who do you want to be friends with? Darwin's fine. We all respect the hell out of Darwin, Yeah. He got it. It's cool, Darwin. You got it. But I bet if the two of them were at a party, nobody wanted to talk to fucking Darwin.
Yeah.
You ever read those Darwin letters where Darwin's like always worried that he's like offending people, and Darwin's like, have you ever read those letters where Darwin's just like, he's like, nobody on this ship wants me here because I'm an asshole to them and I can't help it.
Right.
Nobody on the Beagle likes me because I'm just a jerk.
Buckland doesn't care.
Buckland,
but also Buckland's like, screw those people. I'm wearing robes to dinner.
Yeah, I ate my best friend's king heart, and he still likes me because he's like, oh, Buckland, I should have known you were going to try to eat that king heart. That's really on me more than it is on you.
Dude, I mean, the stories continue. Like, Buckland's son, Francis Buckland, who was born in 1826, like right after the dinosaur shit went down. Mm-hmm. Francis also considered himself a zoophagist who would like eat weird shit.
That's when you cast zoo magic.
Yeah, zoophagery. Mm-hmm. Yeah, he and his dad would like eat weird shit together. He wrote this. He said when he was 7 years old. He said, a live turtle was sent down from London. My father tied a long rope around the turtle's fin and let him have a swim in mercury.
Hell yeah. They love mercury. Dude, they love mercury.
They loved mercury. They thought mercury was magic. Of course, why wouldn't you?
Dude,
it looks
mercury.
Like magic.
Good Lord. They were so into it.
I recollect, too, that my father made me stand on the back of the turtle while he held me on. I was a little fellow, and I had a ride for a few yards as it swam round and round. As a treat, I was allowed to assist the cook to cut off the turtle's head in the college kitchen. This is Oxford College. The head, after it was separated, nipped the finger of one of the kitchen boys who was opening the beast's mouth, and then they ate it.
Yes. Yes, they did. Yo, there's a lot of jokes that go around the internet that's like, when we were kids, our parents let us play with like lawn darts, and our parents let us do slip and slides, which basically just like broke bones and gave you bruises. And parents didn't care the way they are now. Kids are protected too much. This motherfucker put his kid on a turtle back and let it swim through mercury. And then they ate the mercury turtle.
It's the craziest thing.
This motherfucker was like, go ahead, son, ride on the back of this turtle through the mercury.
They said, opening the door of the house, you would see an eagle, a jackal, marmots, guinea pigs, squirrels, dormice, an adder among many harmless snakes and slow worms, tortoises, green frogs, and a chameleon. Skeletons and stuffed specimens were numerous. Oh, and that smell? It wasn't only from the tiny zoo. Francis had been dissecting a cat and kept the corpse in a box under his bed.
Now, here's where I am going to say, we got to draw a bit of a parenting line. I think dissections have to stay on college grounds in a lab. You can't.
That's a daddy activity. That's a daddy job. Daddy's going to be the scientist.
And you can come and you can dissect things, but we certainly don't want to get into our child's head that they are allowed to take animals off the street and murder them. That's a red flag. That's as far as like child developmental behavior. It's a bit of a red flag, Will. If I had to
I agree.
This is the first thing that Buckley's done that I disagree with.
So
Jeff, I should say that at this point, the concerned citizens probably think that they are listening to an episode about William Buckland, and it's become that. But that was not the main idea that was supposed to get across in this episode.
Well, this is what happened to me when I went down this rabbit hole. I started with dinosaurs.
Yeah.
And it sort of backdoor pilot turned into Chronicles of a Badass.
I was going to say, Jeff, I think you've done it.
Yeah.
After almost a decade, I think you've done it, Jeff. I think you found him.
Here's the only downside for Buckland is that dude was devoutly religious.
They all were.
And so he spent most of the rest of his life trying to comport what he had found into making the Bible still make sense.
Yep.
And it was actually commissioned to do that and spent decades coming up with these new. He traveled to Scotland late in his life and looked at glaciation and was kind of one of the first guys to be like, hey, glaciers used to be over large swaths of the world.
Yeah.
That's weird. This doesn't make any sense. They don't talk about that in Noah's Ark.
Right.
And he died in an insane asylum.
Yeah, he did. All the mercury.
Having gone completely mad. Evidently had a pretty bad head injury too.
Yeah,
but
you can't keep all that mercury around. Like, you simply can't. If you can't have enough mercury to let a turtle go swimming in it. Like, and you can't have that much mercury close to you where your skin and air are. You know?
Yeah.
That's going to cause problems. Don't do that. But they, once again, they didn't know. They didn't know.
It's wild to me. It's wild to me how recently this all was relative to everything else.
Mm-hmm.
This idea that the dinosaurs were a failed species, that like they didn't, and humans were where we were all going, right?
Yeah.
Humans been around about 300,000 years. Dinosaurs were on Earth 165 million years.
Mm-hmm.
But this is the thing that is so wild to me about learning about this story. I brought this up to a friend because I was so enamored with this notion of it's only been 200 years since we knew about dinosaurs. And he was like, well, could you imagine if Leonardo da Vinci knew that dinosaurs existed? Like the great thinkers of, if we had understood, it really, I think, would have changed our tact on religion for hundreds of years.
Sure.
If we had this fossil evidence that there was an entire species. Well, that's the other thing that's crazy too, is 200 years. We're still in, and this was a shock to me, we're still in the golden age of dinosaur discovery. They were around for so long. We have identified about 1,000 species of dinosaur. Scientists estimate that they were around so long that there were likely hundreds of thousands of species of dinosaur.
Yeah, I mean, that makes sense.
So we have barely scratched the surface of discovery of the creatures that roamed the earth.
Meanwhile, the first guy who figures out dinosaurs is like, all of these bones belong to Roger, one specific dinosaur that lived in this field. But that's the thing, is like, can you imagine? I mean, that's why speculative fiction and alternate historical fiction is so fun, is because all of these things happen in this order for a reason. When you go back and you look at how academia and science and ideas all sort of happen, you need one stepping stone to get to the other, right?
Yeah, right.
Because we say that the first fossil, the first dinosaur bone, was discovered by this guy in the 1600s or whatever, and he had this femur, right?
Yeah.
But that's probably not true.
Right.
You know what I mean? That's the first time somebody thought to go, hey man, this is what this is, as opposed to somebody finding it in a field and going, bone.
Of course, bone. It certainly inspired legends and myths. And I'm sure some ancient peoples found a giant bone and were like, oh, this is from the great god, whatever.
Right. This is from a god. This is from a dragon. This is from a giant. This is from whatever. Yes. And it's whatever the sort of culture and whatever the level of education and learning and academia and scientific knowledge is in the surrounding area. If you find a giant bone and you don't have the idea of extinction in your head yet,
right?
You don't have the idea of an animal can just disappear,
right?
Because once again, we think that the earth has always been the way it's been. It was put here exactly this way. Of course you go, oh, it was ancient god or a giant monster that was slain or something. It had to have been a one-of-a-kind creature because it doesn't currently exist. So like the idea that like all this stuff had to lead to William Buckland drinking mercury
Yeah.
and pushing skulls in kids' faces.
Well, yeah. So dinosaur doesn't even come into the vernacular until 20 years later because they find what they think is like a giant iguana, which is why we got iguanodon, the term iguanodon, because they thought, hey, it's a big iguana.
Yeah.
And then
It's
some
also
guy was like, hey,
it's phonetically good.
yeah, it does sound good. And some guy was like, hey, Megalosaurus, iguanodon, maybe they're all part of the same thing. Maybe they're all dinosaurs. And so that's how we got that.
And maybe the only person who can stop them is Jason Statham.
And it took us another 200 years before we even got to Jason Statham.
So this story was supposed to be about the naming of dinosaurs.
I know. And it veered for me. The other thing I want to bring up real quickly, I know this is like wide ranging, but I'm telling you, it just my mind kept getting blown.
Yeah.
You brought up speculative fiction.
Yeah.
And I went down the rabbit hole also of like, when did we first start adding dinosaurs into stories? Right? When did dinosaurs become part of the cultural psyche enough that fiction writers are like, I'm going to use a dinosaur in my story?
Well, it was William Hanna and Joe Barbera. They were the first to do it.
Right.
And they had there were no dinosaurs in other stories until after that because they had a patent. They patented dinosaurs and only the Flintstones were allowed to use them.
That's right. That was called the Yabba Dabba Doo Law. No, there's actually, believe it or not, there was in 1864. Oh, no, before that. Sorry. 1852. There's a Charles Dickens story where he uses Megalosaurus.
Yeah.
His novel Bleak House. Charles Dickens uses a Megalosaurus. He imagines there's this crazy storm and makes the streets all muddy in England. And the main character encounters a Megalosaurus that he had heard about from the last, 20 years of people talking about William Buckland's crazy thing.
Yeah.
So then in 1864, Jules Verne writes Journey to the Center of the Earth, but there aren't any dinosaurs in it because no one was like, dinosaurs were a thing that happened prehistoric. He doesn't put dinosaurs in Journey to the Center of the Earth.
Yeah.
It's just wild to me how recently it all was discovered. And it caught on so powerfully. Obviously, 1912, Sir Arthur Conan Doyle writes The Lost World.
Yeah.
And that's really what does it.
Do you want to talk about the naming of dinosaurs, Jeffrey?
Yeah, I mean, Z Synergy Mansfield sent us a story about how there's really no standard for the naming of dinosaurs.
No, but hey, listen, there should be no standard for the naming of anything. There should be, listen to me very carefully. I understand. Yeah. I understand that we have kingdom and phylum and species and all that stuff. I get it. And yes, there should be something to that one big long, but listen, there's a little space to play. There's a little space to play. How many episodes have we done about a researcher that makes a discovery of a new species and names it after Beyonce or Sonic the Hedgehog or themselves or their family or their friends or Doctor Who or something? There's a little bit of room for play. And so if you want to get across and it's marketing and it's branding and it's fun as well. So if you want to get across what this dinosaur is like, give it a good name.
Yeah, I guess that's the reason. So there's this thing called the ICZN, or as I like to call it, the Ick Zone.
Yeah.
Which is the International Commission on Zoological Nomenclature.
We've all been put in the Ick Zone, haven't we?
Oh, man. You don't want to get put in the Ick Zone by your dinosaur friends.
Listen, once if you got a crush and they put you in the Ick Zone, you gotta just walk away, bud.
You know what? Dinosaurs put the crush in crush. You know what I'm saying?
Yes, because they're large.
So the International Commission on Zoological Nomenclature is the committee that oversees the naming guidelines for species. And
those fuckers don't do anything.
they work
those dudes
once
don't
every
even
15 years.
Yo, those folks don't even show up to work. You send them an email. You send them an email and it's like, hey man, can I name this after Beyonce? And they're like, dope, dog.
Don't, Doc. You get an out of office and reply, and then like 15 minutes later, like, oh, yeah, it's fine.
Yeah, it's cool, man. Sorry, I'm at mini golf. You thought about, when was the last time you thought about mini golf? I just thought about it today and I was like, I gotta go. It's like, dude, don't you have an office? I guess. We should put a putt golf place in the ick zone. You know what I mean? Sick. More like the sick zone.
Yeah.
So what do they do? Well,
they've said that over the years, since there wasn't any real guidelines, there are a lot of potentially offensive names for dinosaurs specifically that have been based on sort of outdated ideas and kind of.
We do name things after. We have named a lot of stuff after like what we used to call a culture before we asked that culture what they'd like to be called.
Right.
And that is tricky. It goes back to my dioramas in the Natural History Museum where it's like, look at these idiots. And it's like, whoa, buddy. Whoa. Right.
Yeah, they want, they're not suggesting that we rename anything. They said that would be too disruptive, but they're saying going forward,
don't rename any dinosaurs or species or football teams. If the name pre-exists, we just have to deal with it.
Just got to deal with it.
If the name exists and it's horrible and offensive, it's always been there, and now it's a tradition, and we have to leave it. Sorry. Yeah.
Well, again, we've named like a little over 1,000 dinosaurs, and there's probably over 100,000 to name. So we got some naming ahead of us.
Yeah.
So they want to kind of have some stuff in place. So what they're suggesting is that we keep to stuff like Stegosaurus or Triceratops, where the name is descriptive of what the features of the dinosaur are. Right. Hey. Triceratops is like, it's got 3 horns on a shield face. You know,
that would be great. Did you know that we don't do that with any animals? Hey, man, did you know that we don't do that with anything? What a zebra is not describing zebra. I mean, it might be in some language. Here's the thing. I don't know enough about the way animals are named, but I just don't believe that when you've got certain things that are like a ring-tailed lemur, right? And you're like, cool, I get it.
Like that.
Rings on the tail.
Yeah. Sure.
Rings on the tail. But certain things.
Hammerhead shark. Yeah. I like that one.
Yeah. Looks like it sounds. We love that. But certain things, you just look at them and you're like, why did you call it that, man?
Yeah.
Why is it that? That doesn't describe it to me.
Yeah.
Dog?
Dog.
Fucking dog? What does that mean, dude?
What does that mean, dog?
It doesn't mean anything.
Yeah. You're the man now, dog.
Okay, so it should be something that describes the dinosaur.
Yeah, they want to avoid perpetuating stereotypes. They want to avoid naming things. There's a lot of names that have been named after like the old white dude that swooped in and took the discovery from the actual person that found it, you know?
Sure.
So there's a lot of that happened.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of that in every single facet of society. So it's good that we're putting the kibosh on it in at least this one. Yeah. You know what I mean? Right.
Yeah. Which, I thought was pretty interesting and I think a worthwhile endeavor. It all just led me to William Buckland. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's really a story about William Buckland.
It's the 200th anniversary. The 200th anniversary of us figuring out that dinosaurs were a thing. The Megalosaurus 200 years ago in 1824. And I'm shocked that it was that recent.
Jeff, did we just center the story of an eccentric white man in the middle of a story that's actually about decolonializing an entire form of science?
I mean, maybe.
Oof. Oof. We got to get an HR department. We got to go to some training. We can't do this.
See, what he did was he paid all the guys in the quarry to give who I'm sure were to bring him and then he got famous for
William Buckland, no. He had his child bride draw all the illustrations. Oh no. We're retracting his badass. We're retracting his badass title. We still haven't found one.
We still don't know.
We still haven't found one.
Open question.
But it is important. This actually is important. The idea that we have to standardize these things, not just. It makes sense for a lot of reasons. It makes sense for the fact that, like, by standardizing this and having this going through a standardized body, we are making sure that we are not double naming things or naming things too closely to other things or naming things incorrectly based on other stuff that exists or is coming down the pipeline. And then also, man, there should be somebody checking in and being like, hey, dude, you can't say that.
We got to use the ick zone to stay out of the ick zone.
I love that they named themselves Ick Zone because that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
It's like, we've got to keep your naming of this dinosaur out of the Ick Zone.
It's a little too icky.
You're in the Ick Zone right now, dude. They do say, like, I'm looking at this article right now, and they do say that I was thinking, what percentage of dinosaurs or animals in general are named something that's horribly offensive? I was wondering this. And according to the Ick Zone, less than 3% of dinosaurs have these names.
Yeah.
So out of the 1,000 dinosaurs that we've named, less than 30 of them have really horrible names. So that's it's not zero, which is what we want. But it's less than I would have thought it was. I would have thought that it would have been somewhere. If you had asked me, I would have said 15, 20%. Because I would have thought they had to go, in a lot of cases, they had to go to other countries, visit other cultures to get these bones.
Yeah, it's all in Tanzania. And, it's like you're invading these cultures and then stealing their discoveries and naming it after this dude.
Yeah, name it. Well, and not just that, but naming it after whatever name they give to that country and that culture and that society. Right. So it's like, whoa, they don't call themselves that. It's like, no, we call them this. It's Latin for stupid and worse.
Right.
We found them and they tried to hand me their food, and it turns out they eat dumb food that we don't eat. They eat an animal that I've never seen before, and I've eaten a lot of animals I've never seen before. That's all I do.
The heart of a king.
And the heart of a king. And so they handed me this, and I said, you dummies, that's not eat an animal.
Yeah.
So I named them something Latin for stupids that eat stupids. And so this terrible thunder lizard is named for them in their honor.
Right.
Also, I gave them a disease, and I ruined their village.
I wiped them out now, but at least we'll remember them by the lizard that is named after their dumb, stupid culture.
That's right.
Yeah.
Also, 30 years later, it turns out that I put the entire lizard together wrong. And that species doesn't even exist. And we destroyed a culture for it. Yeah. So I guess what I'm saying is,
remember me in your history books.
But I'm glad less than 3% of dinosaurs. I'd love to know.
And again, no one is suggesting that we go back and rename that stuff. It's not.
I'm suggesting it. Yeah. Now that I know that it's less than 3%, we're talking about 30 dinosaurs. Hey, Ick Zone, take a little bit of that power that you've got and decide that, hey, it's time to rename it. The Ick Zone doesn't have to do it do it themselves. I'm not saying give the Ick Zone unilateral power to rename these things. I'm saying the Ick Zone should put these 30 dinosaurs up to the community and say, yo, these names are bad. What do we do? And, let the
community will be naming them Bodie McBoatface.
That's right. Dino McDino Face is what they're going to get. And it's going to be great, but it'll be better than whatever they have now. I thought that this was a governing sort of organization that said, whoa, we would have to rename thousands of things and we want to do it, but it's going to take a while because we've got to make sure that all the new stuff is being named appropriately first. This is 30 fucking dinosaurs, dude. Send me a list of the dinosaurs. I'll rename them.
We'll do that in an afternoon. We'll just spitball them. Give me pictures of the dinosaur.
Yeah.
And we'll describe it.
I'd love to rename 30 dinosaurs for you, and I'll do it quick. And I'll even send you, like, we'll send you 2 or 3 different names,
Yeah, sure.
We'll send you a few candidates.
And we can A/B test this bad boy.
Yeah. See what the people think. What do people like better? We're happy to do it. Why won't you do it? Because you're afraid that the descendants of a guy who gave everybody diseases and treated them horribly and stole is going to be offended. We don't care.
I think they're just worried about confusion. But yeah, we've named hundreds of Pokemon. We are up to this challenge.
Dude, you want to talk about confusion? There are 3 Pokemon that look like keychains. There's 7 Pokemon that look like candles. We've got this, dude. You want to talk about confusion? There have been no textbooks printed for public schools since 1987. Don't worry. The confusion is already there, and the 30 dinosaurs are not the cause of it. You're not renaming the Tyrannosaurus. We know that.
But I do think that it's cool that they're saying, hey, the naming job is greater in front of us than it is behind us, right?
Sure.
We're going to be naming hundreds of thousands of these.
Great.
So let's figure it out before we get a little too crazy here. Like,
Yeah.
I think that's good.
I think it's good. But, I also think they're lazy and they're out mini golfing because it's only 30 dinosaurs.
Dude, Ick Zone. Let's get a job at the Ick Zone.
I would love to get a job. Hey, if you're at the Ick Zone and you're hiring, get me on that government money. Let me on that. Give me that stipend.
Yeah. We are good with names. We can name stuff. Dude, Anthony's gives people nicknames all the time.
Yeah. If you are somebody that sends in stories to the show and you send in enough stories,
we'll give you a dinosaur name.
I'll give you a dinosaur name. It's been a while since I've given people nicknames. We need some new blood up in here, but I'll tell you what.
Yeah.
I'm happy to do the work of 5 members of the Ick Zone.
Yeah.
They ain't doing shit, dog.
Z Synergiosaurus over here.
That's right.
Did a good job.
That's right. Thank you, Z Synergy Mansfield, for that. And, if you want to share a story with us, there are a couple good ways to do so. One of them is through our email, which we check so much.
Yes.
It's so good. Often. But an even better way to do it, shockingly even better than the email, which we check all the time, which is wehaveconcernshow@gmail.com. And once again, constantly checking it.
Yes.
The other one is on our Discord. And Jeff, I believe you mentioned how to get on that Discord earlier.
I sure did. There's only one way. It's super easy. It is by supporting the show, making sure We Have Concerns continues. The low price of a single $1 every month. That's $12 in a whole calendar year. Very small amount to be part of that Discord. And it gets you access to the cool kids where they're posting science stories, all kinds of other stuff. There's categories for all kinds of cool conversations at patreon.com/wehaveconcerns.
That's right. And if you give a little more money, you get a little extra, including bonus episodes, bonus audio and video, all kinds of amazing stuff. Go check it out at patreon.com/wehaveconcerns.